Hello and welcome to the Shiny Bees podcast, a podcast for those who like their knitting, comedy and yarn in equally large measures. I'm your host Jo Milmine and this is episode 129, Knitting Trend Predictions for 2019.
I feel a need to laugh again with you, if that's alright.
Hello and welcome into another episode of the podcast. I'm Jo, I'm your host today, and if you are a new listener, welcome in. Great to have you with us, and if you're back again with me as always, I really appreciate you joining me, and it's lovely to be sharing this episode with you again. So how are you all? I hope you had a lovely Christmas and got lots of nice things that you enjoyed, that the in-laws weren't too stressful for you and that you had a good time. I know for some people Christmas can be a really tricky time of year that they don't enjoy very much, and there are some challenges around that for you, and if that is you, then I'm sending you lots and lots of squishy Jo hugs and thoughts that hopefully you'll have got through it and everything will be a little bit better now that you've kind of pushed through. And if you do need any assistance or help, please do reach out to the relevant people who can help you with what you've got going on, whether that is via charities or organisations or anything else. There is help out there, or just DM me, talk to me. I'll be here, and I'm more than happy to cheer you up as well if I can do that at all. So this is my first episode from a new location, and I'm hoping there won't be too much background noise and things. I've been taking a couple of days to set up my studio, and it still does definitely need a lot of work, and definitely some interior decor, and definitely needs the windows cleaning. Like, the windows are filthy, but I'm quite excited about it. I've had a couple of internet issues. We had a bit of a power trip, not like an actual power trip, but the power tripped in the apartment, and we think that's affected the router. There seem to be some definite speed issues on the router at the moment, but we've managed to get it working again, thankfully. And as I said, my studio setup is in what is now the new office, and I'm not entirely sure what the audio or acoustics are going to be like in here. And I'll take a picture, put it in the show notes for you so you can see. But basically it is in, last time I had an office, and we've changed that around because we're going to be here full time. We've changed that around, and that's now Sanimal's room. So I've moved out of there and I'm on, what is it, effectively a balcony. Now, it's quite a strange setup. So my desk is directly underneath a geyser. Well, a geyser as they call it in South Africa. We probably call it a boiler or a hot water tank. It's got lots of nice flowers on it, and it's top rated energy level 1. But that is on the balcony, so it's kind of like an internal balcony. So you've got some patio doors, and it opens out onto a balcony that's about, I'd say maybe 3 meters by 1.5 meters, and that's now my office. And I've got carpet on one half but not the other half, so I need another rug for that. But basically it's all in there, and at the moment, because we're still setting it all up, my microphone is on the other side of the desk to what I'm used to, so I'm now stood up recording, which is a bit strange. Unfortunately, on the balcony there isn't any underfloor heating, so my feet are quite cold as I'm standing here talking to you. But like I say, hopefully I'll get another rug in here, do a little IKEA trip this weekend, get some stuff, get it all set up so I'm ready to rock and roll come 2019. Out of the window now, if you remember in summer I was telling you they were busy building the Mancunian, what I've dubbed the Mancunian Way. Well, the Mancunian Way is now open, and I can see lots of cars travelling past on that. Yesterday, amusingly and incredibly worryingly, somebody was trying to reverse backwards down this dual, it's an elevated dual carriageway. It is fully the Mancunian Way, right? Reverse. But he had his hazard warning lights on, so that's fine. How nobody bumped into him, I have no idea. But I was just like, have you seen that dude trying to reverse down a dual carriageway? It's absolutely bonkers. So yeah, it's quite amusing watching all of that. And I can see out to the right beyond the high-speed railway now there is a proliferation of cranes. I'm not sure if that is the correct collective noun for a group of cranes, but I'm going to call it a proliferation of cranes. It's my favourite word today, as I've been writing the show notes. I've figured that out. They're obviously doing quite a lot of building out that way. So I'm not really sure whether it's more apartment blocks, probably, or what, but they light them all up at night with their blue lights. So they don't have the warning lights that we would have normally on tall buildings. They do have some of those red lights on the tower blocks around here, but the cranes are lit up like little, along the crane arm is blue lights, which is pretty cool. So yes, I'm here, I'm in one piece. I managed to leave a significant collection of toiletries and my hairbrush on the aeroplane. But otherwise we're pretty good and just settling in and trying to get over the jet lag, which has been a little bit brutal. I'm not going to lie, pretty brutal. I'm still very tired. Not at all helped by eating way too many overly processed white bread products, but we're getting there and that's the main thing. So thanks to everyone who has checked in with me and asked how we're getting on and whether everything went okay with the trip. We are fine, we're in one piece and ready to kind of crack on. So, along with my actual physical geographical home, I'm thinking about homes for the podcast community in particular. As you know, I've not made a secret of the fact I don't love Facebook, and I opened a group on there for the podcast for all of us to get together because people just didn't seem to be on Ravelry that much anymore. And I don't think that's changed. I don't think people are on Ravelry that much anymore, but I also don't feel like I love Facebook, or a lot of you love Facebook more importantly. And I'm not sure about building our kind of community and where we chat to each other and everything on that as well. So I'm doing some research into how I can better provide something for us all to get together and have a bit of a laugh and share patterns and ideas and get to know each other a lot better. And I'm interested to hear your thoughts basically. What sort of format would you want for a community? Like, what communities are you in that work already? What are they built on? Do you even want to talk to other listeners, or are you not bothered? Or do you really want to talk to someone you find that you can't because you don't want to be on Facebook? I need your feedback basically. So please do get in touch. info@shinybees.com. Just email me, send me a quick message. I'm not scary, I promise. And let me know what sort of thing you might want. I have some ideas, but I don't want to sway anyone either way at this stage. I just want to hear your feedback. Because obviously if you're not that bothered about talking to anyone, well, you probably wouldn't email me anyway, but there's no point getting worried and trying to build something for you if you're not that bothered. But equally, I know the Ravelry group used to be reasonably chatty, and the Facebook group, I think probably because I don't like being on there as well, is not as chatty as I'd hoped. And I know there's a lot of you in there dying to talk about stuff, because whenever I do post something, you do talk. But I don't go and post the things because I don't post things on Facebook myself anymore because I don't like it, and, you know, data issues, etc. So let me know what you think on that. So there are your parish notices for this week, and today we're going to be talking about knitting trends and what my predictions are for 2019 in terms of knitting trends, because I'm going to call it like I massively called the mohair thing. I was talking about mohair 2 years ago when nobody would use it, and now everyone loves the mohair and everyone's using a strand of mohair in their knitting, and heaven forbid, I've seen some people cracking out old stash of kid silk haze, Rowan kid silk haze. I mean, how 2011 is that? But I'm obviously massively in favour of a bit of textured yarn. You know me, I love all yarns equally, especially novelty yarns. They are my favourite. I just enjoy their brazen non-conformism and embracing of who they are, basically, which is why they're my favourite yarns. I love novelty yarns. And as a result of basically some significant sleep deprivation, I've put together my knitting trends for 2019, or what I think will be the trends for 2019. Now, because I'm a massive trendsetter, don't be surprised if these only come in 2020, but I thought it'd be quite fun to tell you what I think is going to be big next year. Not that I'm in any way massively qualified, just as I think sticking my finger in the air, these are going to be the things that people are doing. And then obviously for you guys, tell me what you think is going to be a big knitting trend in 2019. Just as a bit of fun, let's just see if we're right or not. So get yourself a brew, get yourself a tonics, and we will crack on with the show. So as I pre-briefed, today I'm going to be talking about what my knitting trends are for predicted knitting trends for 2019. And I'm going to give you 5 things that I think we're going to see next year in the kind of indie world of knitting, either becoming a big thing or becoming more of a thing. And these are just based on my general feelings and looking around the bazaar, seeing what's going on, sticking my finger in the air. I've had 3 gins. This is what I think of the world type feeling. I haven't had 3 gins. It's 10:45 in the morning. But I thought this would be quite a good, fun way of cracking into next year, really. And it'd be good to revisit it this time next year on the podcast and see what, if any, of these things came true. And as I said before, I wouldn't be surprised if you didn't see some of these till 2020, but I'm going to put them out there now. A bit like Mystic Meg. Who remembers Mystic Meg? Do you remember Mystic Meg? I mean, the Americans in the audience won't necessarily remember Mystic Meg, but Mystic Meg was the psychic. She was a very popular psychic, kind of clairvoyant lady. About 20 years ago, 25, like a long time ago. And I can't remember whether she was on the National Lottery or whether she was on GMTV, Good Morning TV in the UK. But she was like the classic person who could see the future and would do her clairvoyant prediction type things with a crystal ball. Now, I don't have a crystal ball and I don't have a rather severe bob. So like I'm not the same as Mystic Meg, but in the style of. Anyway, so trend number 1 I think we're going to see next year is Intarsia. Now, we've had brioche. I think brioche is overdone now, unless we're talking about the French baked goods, in which case I'm on board. And stranded knitting has definitely been more of a thing this year and late back end of next year, particularly when you're looking at yoked sweaters, and there's Icelandic, Nordic type yoked sweaters that have become a lot more of a thing and a lot more popular on the hot right now, and things that people are knitting, and looking at what people have planned for their Make 9 in 2019, which we talked about last time briefly. It definitely seems to be a thing. And there's people, designers in particular, that are pushing out a lot of these stranded yoked sweaters, and they're very popular. You're also seeing a lot of those types of designs making it into the high street. And looking around in the UK before I left, places like Debenhams and Oasis, etc., had a lot of those particular types of sweaters, whether it's a Fair Isle type design, whether it's like Icelandic type design, or any other kind of design of yoked sweater in particular, whether it's through colour work or through texture, has definitely been a thing. And adding in textured yarns, yay, to those has been a lot more of a thing that you're seeing in general in the high street. And that has, I don't know whether that's precipitated the hand knitting trend or whether that's gone alongside the hand knitted trend for more of these types of designs. I don't really know, because I don't follow fashion that hard. But I think we're kind of going to be moving out of the stranded knitting. And the next logical step from that, to me, is more Intarsia type designs. It's a little bit more of a difficult technique, which is why I feel like the stranded knitting's only just come in because it's become so popular. People get to the point where they think, right, well, it looks quite hard, but everyone else is doing it and my knitting mates are doing it, so it can't be that bad. And I really want that outcome. I want that garment at the end of it. And everyone's knitting these things right now. So, you know what? I'm going to give it a crack, because if everyone else is doing it, then maybe I can do it too. And maybe it's not as hard as it looks, which has definitely happened with brioche. And when I came back to knitting not way back when, but in a big way in 2011, brioche was definitely not a thing. Like, it was not a thing at all. And now it is. It's become a lot more popular because designers are using it a lot more. People are seeing it a lot more. People are getting access to better tutorials, etc. So they've been doing more of it. And I feel like the same has happened with stranded knitting, but I haven't necessarily seen that in the hot right now, in the Instagram feed, around Intarsia type knitting as a technique. So I feel like that's going to be the next big thing, is going to be Intarsia. I'm going to put it out there. And for 2020/21, I feel like beads are going to be massive. So I'll give you that one as a freebie. That's what I feel like is going to be coming next. Trend number 2, I think we're going to see in 2019 is a lot more commercial type yarns. And by commercial yarns, I mean more mass produced, dyed by machine in a factory, as opposed to the hand dyed small batch in a dye shed or kitchen or wherever people are dyeing. I feel like there's going to be a move away from the hand dyed, the crazy yarns, your speckled catsick type yarns, and a move more towards classic type colours that have got more kind of harmonious looking appearances, a kind of more harmonious palette, not quite so in your face, and perhaps combining the crazier yarns with a commercial base as a main base. So say you're going to do a crazy yoked sweater, the main colour would be a commercial type yarn. Then you would have the accent done in a hand-dyed yarn that's a bit more expensive. So it's kind of combining the more expensive yarns that are a little bit more one-off, that are more difficult to create a garment out of because they're not quite so uniform, with more uniform, commercially available, in bulk, in the amount that you need, whenever you kind of need them, workhorse type yarns. Trend number 3, I think, is going to be big, is a bigger emphasis on knitting what you have over mass proliferation and purchasing of new yarns. So move away from stash acquisition to, would it be stash liquidization? I don't know. But basically, every year, everyone always talks about cold sheeping, which I hate that term. It's just horrible. It's just not something you ever should really want to be doing, I don't think, because it just feels too restrictive to me when you're doing something very creative. Although I suppose constraints sometimes can produce creativity. But I find it stifles, the idea that I'm not allowed to buy anything stifles the process of making, but it also makes me just want to go buy things because someone's told me I can't. So I'm not talking about cold sheeping. I'm not talking about necessarily only knitting from stash as a thing, but what generally amongst social media, amongst the general media, amongst general feeling that I'm seeing from a lot of people that I follow and that I'm friends with, is this idea of a higher awareness of consumption and the impact generally that you're making on the world. Now, whether that is not using as much plastic, or whether it is, using up food so you don't throw food away, or whether it's make, do and mend, which has been a fairly, ongoing trend, it's definitely something that is not just for the very obviously eco or very openly eco-conscious people anymore. It's becoming a lot more of a mainstream idea to reduce your consumption and not waste things. And for that reason, I feel like knitting from stash and using what you have and reducing the impact you have by making sure whatever you've got you're using up and not, in inverted commas, wasted. Not that yarn that's left in stash is ever, in inverted commas, wasted, but that idea of minimising impact and being more ecologically friendly, I think will spill over into proliferation of yarn and buying yarn, as opposed to what has been happening in the last few years, which has been like more, bigger, better stash acquisition type things. I'm definitely not seeing the kind of suitcases of bought yarn at yarn shows being as big a thing anymore as it was a few years ago. I think maybe some of that is coupled with uncertainty over Brexit and everything. Consumer spending is down generally. Like, people are a little bit nervous, especially in the UK, about what's going to happen. In the States, I think being nervous for a little while now about what's going on over there. Not getting into any of the politics of it, it's just a general feeling that people will be just holding on to their money and using what they have, and that, I think, will be more of a trend for 2019, at least until there is a lot more certainty over what is going to be going on, what's going to be happening. Trend number 4. I think any purchasing that does happen, because I think people will still buy yarn, people still want to feel good, even when things are a little bit uncertain. In particular, they like their treats, they want to still be making nice things and using nice stuff. They're just going to be spending it in a different way. It's not going to be about lots, it's going to be about smaller and good quality and something a little bit different, I think. So I think the money that is going to be spent will be spent more towards your luxury yarns, your one-off yarns, your single farm yarns. And I think the people that are going to do well in that are the people who've done a really good job of creating a brand, of sharing that story, of sharing that kind of sustainability feeling as well, and really bringing you into that whole process of where the yarn comes from. So I think for the small producers, this could be, particularly small producers that are doing something a little bit differently, this could be a big year, provided they can get access to spinning facilities and all that kind of thing to do something a little bit differently. I feel like this is going to be a good year for them, and that's where people are going to be spending their money, on the one-offs, the single farm stuff, or the very kind of luxury single or two skein things that is just very, very attractive. It's not just going to be about getting something because I like it. It's going to be about getting these things that they've been looking at for a long while, I feel like. Number 5, somewhat controversially, but you know me, I think 2019 is going to be the death of the shawl. Yeah, I did just say that out loud. I literally had to look behind me, see if anyone was going to lynch me with a knitting bag. I think 2019 is the death of the shawl pattern. There are too many of them. They're all a bit too similar. I don't really feel like people are knitting them so much anymore, particularly single shawl patterns. Single skein shawl patterns are not so much of a thing. If you look at the trend over the last 18 months or so, it has definitely been a lot more towards these, what I call a mega shawl, which is effectively a blanket, really. So if you look at like your fades, all that kind of stuff, it's been about combining multiple skeins into bigger shawls. Even amongst people who have not traditionally done very big shawl patterns with multiple skeins, that is definitely the way things are going. Partially, I think that is, again, about people having these massive stashes of single skeins the single skein buying was a big trend, kind of 2012 to 14 in particular, I feel like, where the indie dyed market expanded quite a lot. People were buying single skeins because they could have, a skein they could knit with it. It's expensive, but they could knit with it. They could have a shawl, they could have an accessory. How many shawls do you need? Like, how many hats do you need? It's got to the point, I think, where people are looking for ways to combine single skeins into bigger projects, which is why the fades in particular have been so popular. There's kind of the stripes that you would see earlier in the 2010s have gone a bit more now, and it's more towards the fades. And I feel like that is because people bought into the idea that you could use 4, 5, 6, 7 skeins, you could pair them all up, you could create something bigger that's a different kind of garment. And for that reason, I feel like the single skein shawl is dead already, and it's definitely going to be dead for 2019. I don't think we're going to be seeing anywhere near as many patterns for shawls unless they're coming from new designers who are only just picking up on the whole shawl thing. If you look at the big guys out there at the moment, they're not really doing it. They're doing multiple skein shawls, they're doing yoked jumpers, and they're doing fade type combinations of colours as their main thing. That's what I'm seeing them doing, to be honest. Even the brioche, it's about combining colours and skeins. It's not about going buying more different ones. Looking at marling, again, the more I think about it, the more reasons I can give you for this being a thing. That marlisle and all that kind of marled effect. It's about combining more than one skein together to use them up, basically, because we've all got so many of them. So I think that will be the death of the shawl. Is that's going to be it, and it's going to be more about bigger garments, combining things together. And as a little bonus, I think there's going to be room for some kind of colour theory type stuff where people can go and learn about how to combine all these single skeins to get useful stuff out of them, harking back to that higher awareness of consumption, about using stuff that you've got. All that kind of thing is going to blend together, so that the next kind of big thing, I guess, is going to be about learning how to combine all these things together in an easy way, because people do find putting colours together hard. So there you go, they're my 5 trends for 2019. I will summarise quickly for you. Trend number 1, we're going to see a lot more Intarsia knocking around the bazaars. Number 2, we're going to see more commercial yarns. I think people are going to buy less plain indie dyed yarns. They're going to be combining commercial yarns as a cheaper alternative with some of those fancy, crazy out there skeins to create different garments. Number 3, there's going to be more emphasis on knitting what you've got, which goes along with economic uncertainty and a higher awareness of the impact you're having ecologically by consuming so much stuff. Number 4, there's going to be more purchasing. The purchasing that does happen is going to go more towards the one-offs, the single farms, the high luxury, the very, very beautiful standout skeins. And number 5 is the death of the One Skein Shawl, for sure. So they're my predictions. I'm super excited to hear what yours are going to be for 2019. Do you agree with me? Am I right? Am I wrong? Did I diss speckled yarns again? Yes, I did. They've got to go out at some point. That's probably another bonus one. I think speckled yarns are going to be gone by the end of 2019. It's not going to be a thing anymore. Like they're a bit too out there, and I don't know. I feel like people are going to become more conservative in their choices. But that's just me. What do you think? I want to hear what you have to say about this. Do you think my predictions are right? Do you have some other ones? Do you agree? Do you disagree? I'm interested to hear from all different aspects, because I think it's a fun, interesting conversation to have, and see if we're right, basically. Like, it's just always fun to make a prediction and see if it comes true. So you can talk to me about that whatever you like. I'm at Shiny Bees on Instagram and everywhere else in the world. And we have the Shiny Bees community, which is at shinybees.com/community. It's currently on Facebook, but it might be somewhere else soon. Or you can email me, info@shinybees.com, and I will be sharing some of these different predictions and people's thoughts in the episode after the next one. So it just gives you a chance to get your thoughts together and send them in, and then we can talk about it some more. So that's all I've got time for today. I hope you've enjoyed the show, and I hope you will join with me in mourning the death of the single skein shawl in 2019. I hope you have a wonderful week. Happy crafting, and I'll speak to you all again soon. Cheers! You've been listening to the Shiny Bees podcast. Full show notes for this episode can be found on the website at shinybees.com/129. If you've enjoyed today's show, I'd really appreciate you leaving me a review on iTunes or your favourite podcatcher to help other people find the show and share the nitty goodness with them.
If that's alright.